All right, great panel. We're in the final stretch. Last panel of the day. Metrics, data-driven approaches, optimizing veteran employment policies, practices, and outcomes. Moderated by Rob Arndt.
All right, folks, we almost made it, right? Getting close to happy hour. Okay, jumping right into. So welcome everyone to the last session. Thank you so much for everyone's attention, all to folks online and all the folks who came out today. Nick, George, Vets Indexes, thank you so much for another great show. Phenomenal turnout again. The venue's beautiful. Thank you for everything that you guys are doing to keep this tank rolling. So for our last session, we're going to talk about data and numbers. I promise to keep it lively and not have anybody fall asleep. So this session is going to be entitled Data or Delusion. And we're going to be asking, are your veteran metrics actually driving impact, or are you just checking boxes? My name is Rob Arndt. I am the CEO and founder of an organization called Buffer Springs. We are a training consulting firm dedicated to the eradication of military underemployment. We hand select smart companies and help them build effective, scalable, and sustainable programs. But I'm not here to talk about me. If you want to check us out, go to buffersprings.com. Anyway, going back to this, I am a 14-year Marine Corps veteran. In that, half of that time was spent on Marine Corps recruitment and manpower strategy before transitioning out to the civilian world and, for lack of better words, getting my ass kicked by transition. Getting sucked up into the sea of goodwill and all the flags waving and everybody who wanted to give me a hug, but not know what my potential was or what I could bring to the table. So we're going to talk about that today, of how we can prevent that from happening at our companies. A couple things on this. So getting straight to the point. This isn't going to be a panel that's filled with fluff and applause lines. This is going to be asking hard questions, holding up a mirror, and talking about whether our metrics are actually driving veteran success or just helping us feel good about ourselves. If you're here to check a box, this probably isn't your session. We'll meet you at the happy hour. You can feel free to excuse yourself now. So for this, our veterans, our people, my people, we don't need more flag waving. We need outcomes. We need results. And we're going to make that happen today. Metrics are about telling the truth, not giving you cover. Most companies are great at counting, but not measuring what counts. So today, giving my Marine Corps recruiting experience, my transition into the civilian world, and the fact that I've dedicated my life to helping companies solve this problem, I'm also on stage with two other individuals who have military recruitment experience, who have deployed and been shot at, all that fun stuff that we did in service, and then, kind of had their fun in the civilian world transitioning out as well. So we're going to skip the bios. I have asked each one of my panelists to come in with a short answer to two questions. Who are you? How did you get in this fight? And what are you personally doing to try to change veteran underemployment? And we'll start with Matt Watkins.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Matt Watkins. I got 17 years of continued service in the Marine Corps, 14 of that also being active, and 3 years of that being as a Marine Corps recruiter. Don't hold that against me. But I also have 3 years, 7 months, and 28 days till I retire. So not that I'm counting or anything, but we're talking about data, right? So that's important. So in my transition out, I took part of the DoD SkillBridge program, got into an executive search firm where I thought I asked all the right questions, to including confirming questions about salary. Unfortunately, 4 months into that executive search firm and that SkillBridge, when I thought I was going to be making close to $95,000 a year, I got handed an offer letter for $48,000. At that point, I had not prepared for anything outside of that. I didn't have another job lined up because the CEO of that small company said, yeah, 95,000 shouldn't be a problem. So what I didn't ask was, or what I didn't know about or know to ask was commissions, bonus structures, and how all that added up. Well, even then, it still didn't add up to remotely close to what he was talking about. I left the Marine Corps after 14 years because I had deployed with a 2-year-old and 2-month-old. 4 years after I went on that deployment, I made that transition out in 2021. And at that point, as in mid 30s after exiting a really successful Marine Corps career, I wasn't quite sure how I was going to feed them anymore. So I had to make a hard transition. I had to take a job that I wasn't really too keen on, and that was IT recruiting. I'm an aviation mechanic by trade. IT recruiting was not my forte, but I learned it because that's what we do. And I needed to make a shift, and I needed to bring food and keep a roof over the head. Got into business development, realized that is not what I wanted to do. And while making 250 to 300 cold calls a week trying to sell recruiting services, I found the company I work at now called Premise Health, and they had a position open called the Military Program Manager. I wasn't quite sure what that meant, but it really aligned to everything as far as my experiences go. So instead of trying to do business with them, I used ZoomInfo to get information for the hiring manager, and I called them instead. For those who aren't aware about what ZoomInfo is, that's where all of your contact information is held for those in business development roles. So when they call your personal cell phone, that's where they got it. But I got into that role, and I realized that position, that new position where I'm helping veterans and military spouses, fed my purpose. And it fed my kids, which was probably the most important thing aside from feeding my purpose. And the really cool part is it's a super supportive company, and it allows me to reach out to veterans and military spouses alike and mentor them and let them know that they don't have to go into a job that they don't like to where they get a salary that isn't sufficient to feed their family, and they can be successful after their military service too.
Love that keyword, purpose. That's what our veterans are looking for at your companies. Purpose, a mission, something that drives us. That's embedded into our DNA. And if you don't have that, we need to find it. Matt, thank you. Hector, floor's all yours.
Thank you. It's something to be in front of a bunch of Marines over here that just lead the way no matter where they go. Because at the end of the day, I don't know if this mic is actually on or working, but
Get another one.
can you hear me? Okay. Oh, well, you know, I'm in the Army. I'm not like you Marines.
We have extras.
Okay?
We scared away a panelist with the data
You know,
thing.
I need a block of instructions over here. You got to do it by the numbers for me. Okay. So bottom line is that, like I said, having Rob up here, just pulled the Band-Aid off of it. So, you know, we just got into it. So like I said, I'm Hector Rivera. I work with the Wounded Warrior Project. I am the New York City Career Transition Specialist. My background and military background is basically, I started off in Camo, working 25 Charlie, 25 uniform. I worked in the orderly room for a little bit as a 42 Alpha, did S1 for a little while. Then got out, wanted to be a freshman and then oldest freshman on college campus. That didn't work out because 9/11 happened. So I was walking around Ground Zero for quite some time because my school was about a few blocks away. That decided from there for me to actually put my boots back on, and I joined the National Guard from there. And from that point on, I became a National Guard recruiter, AGR, doing it for 15 years. So in that career time frame, I did everything from being a street recruiter, station commander, MEPS guidance counselor, plus the NCOIC for the Hudson Valley team, pretty much handling Westchester County, going all the way up to Albany-Greene County. When I got out of service to finish off my military career, decided to go back to school again and finish off my degree in cybersecurity. I was the Veterans Admissions Counselor for the school I was at for a little while. So kind of nice to burn the candles on both ends when it came to it. Worked around a bunch of other companies as well for Workforce One over here, helping out healthcare as a healthcare recruiter, helping out healthcare LPNs and RNs, all that to actually find jobs and build that business relation with all of them during COVID and all. I worked as a counselor as well, a retention counselor, again, with the National Guard for a while as a civilian contractor, employment specialist, basically helping out veterans as well. And then with T-Mobile, helping them out to find veterans, support those mobile associate stores, their retail stores. So before I got to pretty much to Wounded Warrior Project, you can pretty much see and hear that this is my passion. This is what I do. It's helping out veterans find work, coach them, mentor them, because at the end of the day, our community, I feel that we don't have enough advocacy for it. And at the end of the day, whether you're an infantryman, sailor, whatever the case may be. I'm that ear that you can come to, that person that's going to actually listen to you and get you squared away over here and put you on the right path over here. Because I'm always believing that NCO spirit, where we provide purpose, direction, motivation, and all of that. And nowadays, like, we need that more than ever, because leadership is something that is ingrained in us. Everybody that's worn a uniform more than a day, know and understand your A-type personality. Okay, there's something about you that a lot of these organizations need. They don't even realize it, how much what you bring to the table. So at the end of the day, I just bring that out in all my warriors, all people that are out there, to make sure they know, understand. And not to mention the fact I bridge that gap from the employers to the warrior as well. So that way they see what they actually have in their inventory, you know? So when you need some time out, because there's a reason why we call wounded warrior, okay? Because we have those invisible wounds, not just only the visible wounds. So want to make sure that you are treated properly, and you know and understand what your rights are, understand what you bring to the table. Because for most of us, we haven't taken that uniform on. We still carry on. And, you know, just like Rob said earlier, we don't want the flag waving and everything else. We appreciate that. We've done our bit for God and country. But at the end of the day, we want to be able to provide food for our families, make sure that they're taken care of, and make sure that, you know, at the end of the day, that we provide the proper service for everybody here.
Well said. So as you can all see, you're hearing from people that have experienced these gaps firsthand. These are people with real world experience in serving, deploying, recruiting for, and getting out of the military and coming into corporate America. So now we're going to dig into where the metrics fail and how we can actually deliver. So first question on this, and I'm going to direct this to Matt. What is a veteran hiring metrics that companies love to report, but doesn't actually help veterans or drive business needs or results?
This is going to hurt a lot of feelings. But
Please do. Let's hurt everybody's feelings in here. We have tissues, right? Around. I saw some boxes out there. Let's do it.
It's 100%, I believe, headcount and veteran hiring. So, I mean, obviously that is extremely important, right? We want to increase our numbers. We want to bring in more veterans. We want to hire as many veterans as possible. And when I say veterans, I'm also including military spouses. But really, when we're looking at a data point that we should really truly be looking at is retention. So you can hire as many as you want, but if the bottom of that funnel is opened up, then you're not doing any good. You're not helping the veteran, because they're obviously coming in, but something's missing for them, so they're leaving or losing their job in one way or another. So
100%. If your company wants to get credibility with veterans, don't show me how many you hired. Show me how many are still there that I can connect with now and ask how their time is there, or even connect with, as the other sessions, to connect with a mentor of somebody who's walked in the same boots that I have. Show me they exist, because the stock images on your website with somebody wearing a camouflage turtleneck doesn't say that. Okay. Hector, what about you? What's a sacred cow you'd take out back and turn into hamburger?
Like I said, such a Marine. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go with Matt on this. Is the retention piece, being a recruiting and retention NCO, and being in the position that I am in. I see a lot of warriors that go into a lot of companies. They put a lot of effort into it, and at the end of the day, what is going on in the background and all, as far as closing that back door over here? Because when you look at it, there are not enough companies out there that do exit interviews. There are not a lot of companies that actually sit down and actually talk to a veteran and find out why they are where they're at when it comes to it. Because when they came into the organization, they were locked, cocked, and ready to rock. But at the end of the day, when all these things start to fail and start to come back on it, all of a sudden, there's no answers. And when it's being fed up through the pipeline, all the way up the chain, you're not getting that feedback. Those CEOs are not really getting the actual information, because we can know that numbers can be manipulated in some way, shape, or form. But at the end of the day, what is the real hard data? What is the real hard truth? And I get down into the weeds of it, because I sit down and talk with those individuals. And I tell them, okay, I'm going to put Sergeant Rivera back. He's going to come out of retirement for a moment. Okay. Tell me the down and dirty. What is going on? And they will say it outright, flat out. Okay. There is not one service member that will not tell you what is actually wrong with the situation. Okay. They're going to tell you the cold, hard truth. You know, and the bottom line is that when it comes to retention, you spent money to get these individuals over there as well. Okay. You know, if you're looking at trying to keep things in the black, you should start off right there. because at the end of the day, you're putting that money, that effort into that veteran coming in. Now you're going to let them go. I would really have a hard time trying to swallow and digest that, because there's not one person out here that's put a uniform on. It's not worth their weight in salt when it comes to it. So the bottom line is that what is going on as far as retention is concerned.
And let's look at the brackets of retention. How many are there after 6 months, a year, 18 months? Let's look at their promotability. How many of those people are on accelerated promotion compared to our civilian counterparts? I see it in every company that we analyze that our veterans are outperforming our civilians. Sorry, guys, but we're doing it. But we're not being recognized for that, or it's not being intentional. It's just happening on accident. And you guys are reaping the benefits of it and not being intentional of it. Also, some different things out there, job board impressions. How many of you are tracking impressions? How many people drove past that billboard in the cornfield? Means nothing. What are the conversions? How many veterans you saw at that job fair? How many did you hire? How many outcomes happened there? Let's stop waving flags and patting ourselves on the back about things that are just vanity metrics and PR campaigns. The number that I want to focus on today, 61%. Can anyone tell me what that number signifies? It's the underemployment rate for veterans. The unemployment rates that they tout out there of 2% or whatever they are, they're counting veterans that are Uber drivers, that are taking student benefits and having stipends come in from that. They're not fully employed. 61% of our people are underemployed. The flag waving, the friendliness, we can't measure friendliness, can we? It's not how, if I have a 6-inch smile and you have a 7-inch smile, your company's more vet friendly than me. Show me a metric that shows me how friendly you are. We have to stop counting these things that are just flag waving in commercial stuff. So going on to the next question, segment 2, when the right data changed the game. So Hector, we'll start with you on this one. Tell me about a time when you saw data from either your organization or from a partner, because Wounded Warrior does work with a lot of employer organizations. Show me a time that data changed behavior, that you saw a number, looked at a number, and it changed behavior at your company. Some of you submitted for Vets Index Awards, which is phenomenal. Great award on there, but what did you do with that data when you looked at it? Did you submit the award and tuck it away, or did you see something that was an anomaly and want to change it and make a fix on there? Hector, we'll start with you.
I mean, right now, what we're working with is the Doge policy. And that's something that, as far as the changing and dynamics when it comes to getting veterans back to work and things like that. So it really shifted a lot of the way our thought process was, because we found a lot of people that were looking for work, and they had worked for a little while, and all of a sudden this policy came into place, and now they found themselves trying to find work, trying to find out what they're worth with. And it was something that was really unprecedented on a lot of accounts. We all could attest to that. And it's something that we are looking into, not just only currently and all, but, long term, how this is going to affect everybody else down the line. I have, anywhere from, battalion commanders and all the way down to the privates that are sitting there talking about they've had this job for quite some time. Now they don't know what to do, because they counted on their retirement coming from something like this. And it's, as far as exact figures and things like that, it fluctuates. But at the end of the day, what we see is the real person at the other end, because they have real concerns. And our minds had to shift a little bit when it came to it, to make sure that you continue on and know and understand what you bring to the table and all.
And one thing to add to that, we're looking at veterans through a bad set of lenses. I can say that, our product at the end of the day is veterans and bringing those in, and that's what we do at our organization. I luckily am selling the greatest product known to mankind, which are military veterans, in my own biased but warranted opinion. Most programs are based off of profit. It's how many people you can cram into a job fair or whatever that is on the profit side of it, or it's pity of playing a violin of how sad we are and how wounded we are. That's not us. That's not who we are. We need to focus on progress, not profit and pity anymore. Great point, Hector. Matt, same question for you. What's the time that you saw data come up and somebody reacted to it? You saw actual change occur instead of being on another list.
Of course. So first off, I came into Premise Health in February of 2023. We had a reporting system and we were collecting a whole lot of data, but there wasn't really a lot of valuable data that was being collected. So one of the things that I wanted to start bringing into the picture was, why are veterans and military spouses leaving? And then let's compare that to the general population. Why are they leaving? So what we noticed is out of those top 5 reasons for vets and spouses, they were leaving because of leadership and management and career advancement. So Rob and I were talking about this earlier. Service members typically know how to lead. They know how to manage personnel. There's some nuances there because in the civilian world, your employees can quit, right? In the military, your lance corporals and corporals can't necessarily quit when you tell them to do something they don't want to do. But when I reported that data to the CEO, he was like, so what does the general population say? Leadership and management wasn't even on the radar at all. They were just sticking around, or they were leaving for other reasons, whether it was flexibility or job location or some other reasons like that. But for veterans and military spouses, they were leaving because of career advancement, and number one reason was leadership and management. We couldn't really do anything about the career advancement piece because a lot of our employees are clinical workers. So if you're an RN, unless you go get other certifications or degrees, typically you're going to stay an RN. You might be able to take on more responsibilities and things like that. But with the retention that Premise Health has, which is pretty good, moving up in those types of positions is rare unless somebody just decides to retire. But how did we force change or drive change? So of course, as any leader does, he asked me what I think we should do. And I said, well, I think we need to educate the department heads. We need to educate the supervisors and people leaders. Let them know what these veterans and military spouses are actually bringing to the table. So between different, going around and doing some veteran programs showcasing and teaching these folks what veterans and military spouses bring to the table, we also decided to hold them accountable. How are we holding them accountable? Well, we started collecting data on how many veterans and military spouses they were bringing in quarterly and how many veterans and military spouses they were losing quarterly. And that opened the eyes to just about every function area inside of our organization. So we have 6,500 folks, 470 are veterans and military spouses. So right under 8%. I think it's around 7.5. But they saw that, number one, out of these education sessions, they were learning what veterans and military spouses bring to the table. Then they started holding the veterans and military spouses accountable, providing them more responsibilities and kind of testing them in a way. But all this drove I think it was a 77% increase in promotions for veterans and military spouses from 2023 to 2024.
Sizable.
We also, because of this education piece, and they were more bought into the culture and bringing in veterans and military spouses and retaining them, we were able to reduce our turnover rate by 47%. So when I came into this organization, I didn't want to just increase our numbers. I wanted to figure out where the problem was and actually fix it. Because too many times, my peers in different organizations, like Rob said, they just want to say, well, we have 8%, we have 9%, 10%. Well, that's great. But what's your retention percentage? So.
And that's real people. That's real metrics. That's real money. That is a business case that you're not training a replacement. It's costing you $45,000 at least to replace that person, depending on who it is. That's saving money, time. That's a huge business case and keeping some of your strongest people. The other thing that Matt said earlier is like the biggest reason veterans were leaving was because of leadership. If anything that I can say about veterans is we know how to spot good leaders and bad leaders because we've had a lot of both of them. If that's something that's coming up as an indicator of why we're leaving, that's a hole that you need to fill quickly. Your civilian employers are seeing it too. They just may not be saying it as blatantly as we are.
So one thing I should mention is that leadership and management piece isn't even on the top 10 reasons anymore. The career advancement piece is still on there. We're working on that. But the leadership and management piece has dropped off the radar.
And we talked about government contracting in here. I know there's a lot of companies here. How many federal contractors do we have in here who do business with Uncle Sam and your company does business with the United States government? Raise your hands. It's a mandate. You have to hire veterans. 5.2% of your workforce as of the Vietnam Era Veterans Readjustment Act of 1974 is supposed to be military veteran. If you're not there, you better figure it out, because right now Executive Order 11246, which protected diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, was rescinded. The only thing they have to look at now is VEVRA, 5.2% veteran, and Section 503 saying that you need to have 7% representation with people with disabilities. I'm a 90% disabled veteran. You can kill two birds with one stone by hiring me, and I'll outperform your civilian counterparts. Promise you. So moving on to segment 3 of this. So what is one critical, and Hector, I'll start with you on this. Or actually, Matt, we'll rotate to you on this one. All right, what is one critical metric that companies never track, but they should? And let's not talk about retention. Got to keep that one off.
Yeah, so you sent this over email, and I had to actually think about it because I wanted to capture something that we don't track, that we definitely need to track. And what came to mind was for veterans, time to value. So from the application stage to hiring stage to where they're actually being productive and providing value to an organization. From my experience, which is very little in the civilian sector, corporate sector, however you want to word it, the veterans that we've brought on board and the military spouses that we've brought on board are productive months ahead of the civilian counterparts.
It's not an anomaly. I've seen it at every company that we've done an assessment on.
We had this is an example from last year. We had a Hiring Our Heroes fellow come in. She was a captain, Army captain, MP. We put her into a project management role, and she was hired on after the fellowship, and within 6 months, she received an evaluation and was promoted 2 steps higher, and it got about a $30,000 increase in pay because she had caught on that fast and was outperforming every single one of her peers.
That's what we need. Our companies aren't based off of the products that we sell or the goods and services or whatever. They can only be as strong as our people allow our companies to be. And we have the strongest military on the planet here in the United States. Matt and I come from the Marine Corps. Our company hasn't lost a battle. Our purpose is to fight battles, win wars. We haven't lost a battle in 250 years because of the people, not our budget of epic proportions or how many tanks we have, because of those people. You're trying to tell me we can't do anything with them after they get out when they're even more apt to do things? What's that?
Did you just say budget of epic proportions for
Yes.
the Marine Corps?
Well, I wasn't talking about the Marine Corps. I was talking about DoD. we got Air Force people in here. I can't they're not going to commiserate with us. You got to keep it generalized, you know. Sorry, we don't have a budget in the Marine Corps, folks. That's why we eat crayons.
And yet you still make your numbers.
Hey, somebody's got to do it.
I said, well,
Hector, what about you? Metric that companies, and that one, time to value, that's nerd stuff right there. I love that, Matt. You guys should nerd out on that stuff of how fast your veterans ramp up compared to your civilian counterparts. I'll buy you a drink at happy hour if your numbers say otherwise. Hector, what about you?
me, I go back old school when it comes to it. It's the time that you take, kind of like piggybacking off of Matt, it was a contract to contract. And I really had to think about it because, you know, when I look at when veterans actually apply for positions from usajobs.gov, it takes approximately about 400 days for an actual applicant to actually get to the promised land to where they actually get hired. Okay, that's entirely too much time. Okay, where people need work and things like that. You need a job just to find a job, and in this case, in scenario. And to me, that's kind of piss poor, if you will, because at the end of the day, you know, we got people that have sacrificed life and limb, you know, for God and country, and you're telling them they got to wait 1.5 years before you get an actual response, before they actually get a seat at the table. When you look at the fact when it comes to on the civilian side, I was listening in on a LinkedIn video, and basically for a regular recruiter, they spend about 14 hours basically with AI and all software and things like that to actually recruit people. So what is going on the rest of the 26 hours throughout the day when it comes to all of this? Okay. And when you start seeing that these numbers are coming up when it comes to how many people are actually looking for work and how many people are actually getting, it bothers me because it's like we have warriors out there that are waiting for jobs. They're just, you know, foaming at the mouth and things like that. They still got to put food on the table. They still have to have a roof over their heads and things like that. And when you start looking at all of these different numbers here, what is the where's the disconnect? Where's the bottleneck coming from in regards to this? And for me, myself, and I, all three of us, I have to look at these things because I have to keep these individuals, I have to keep these soldiers, sailors, airmen, guardsmen, trident Marines, everybody motivated, okay? Because again, when you got these invisible wounds, it could really weigh you down, okay? Because just like the Marines, they don't fail, okay? Just like everybody else that's put on this unit, we don't like the feeling of failure. So we start to feel a certain kind of way when we go in front of those applicants over there, and when we start seeing those recruiters over there not give us that feedback, and you're not going to get it. So I talk to them and try to make sure that we bottom, try to close that gap there, close that loop, and know and understand. Don't take it personal. At the end of the day, take your ego out of the equation. But where can we fill in these things over here to better service our service members?
Spoken like a true recruiter. Contact to contract chain. You got to move fast. These are in-demand candidates. You're not helping us and hugging a hero. We're helping you. We're coming into your company to make something better. Move quickly so we can do that for you, or else you're wasting money every day that you're spending 410 days to hire somebody. That's ridiculous. I have old age before then. A couple other things that you may want to be tracking. Your percentage of veterans that are promoted in the first 2 years of employment. Crunch that number. See what comes up. Looking when they have it. The other thing that you may want to look at, I was just in an ERG meeting with one of our clients. We had 82 veterans in the room, talking just me and a bunch of vets shooting the crap. I said, raise your hand if you're a veteran. 82 hands went up. I said, keep your hand in the air if you self-identified in the HRIS system as a veteran. 26 hands stayed in the air. Everybody else's hands went down. This company hired me because they think they have a veteran hiring problem. They don't. They have a cultural problem where their veterans aren't exposed. They aren't feeling comfortable to stand up, or they don't see a reason to do that other than getting an email from HR saying, the government needs your identity. Government has my information. They have more than enough information on me. I might even have a microchip in me. They don't need it from my employer. So self-identification rates. If your veterans aren't speaking up, that's a you problem. That's a cultural problem. That's not on veterans. Another thing, time to productivity compared to your civilian counterparts, and your ERG engagement and retention rates. Back a few years ago, 5-10 years ago, ERGs emerged and everything, and all the cool kids had to have them. When I ask a company about their veteran ERG program, they're like, yeah, we have a great one. We do coffee and donuts for veterans in the break room on Veterans Day. And there's nothing else. There's no traction. It's a gun club for veterans. It's a check in the box somewhere. Give them engagement. We want leaders. We want to be promoted. We want mentors. Give us a place to do that. Base your ERGs off of what your company needs. Right now, after the pandemic, a lot of our leaders stepped away. 88% of companies right now, in the latest study that I read, have a leadership gap in their company. We don't have a leadership gap in the military. It's next man up, next woman up. Even in the heat of combat, we have legacy planning down to a science. Leadership training. There's no leaders. We have those ready to go. They just may need to be recalibrated a little bit. Skilled individuals. We have a skill shortage. There's an 82% skill shortage in America right now. We don't build anything anymore. A bunch of people sitting on their iPhones that don't want to get their hands dirty. Veterans aren't doing that. We don't have planes falling out of the sky. We train our own. We take kids like me out of the hood and train them how to be mechanics or whatever they choose to be, and then weaponize them in the civilian world to be some of your best assets. So those are the things that we should be looking at. Your ERG and retention, not the fact that you have one, the fact that people are actually showing up to it and doing something with it. So wrapping up on here, I know we're getting down to the last 5 minutes. So any parting words from either of you, anything that you want to leave the crowd with, or anything to change minds on here? And folks, today we're going to leave here and change things. We're not going to close the book and file this away. We're going to go back and change one thing from our companies. From the two of you, any suggestions, any words of wisdom for the crowd, since you've seen this 360 from a veteran, from struggling to being inside trying to make things better?
For me, and this happened off with our pregame meeting, this whole thing about veteran friendly. What does that mean? Okay. Being veteran friendly is highly used, but at the same time, it's hardly ever really acknowledged, if you will. What do you mean by veteran friendly? Because most of the time you get a lot of people that are out there that say that they're veteran friendly just to check the block off, as Rob always said. The bottom line is that you, from the top up, we're shaking hands and kissing babies, looking like the local politicians around, saying that, hey, we love our veterans and everything else. Okay, that's great. I go up to an individual and they all of a sudden say, I need a job. well, go to this landing page over here and, just fill that out and somebody will get in contact. I don't know who's going to get it, but somebody will get in contact. It's like, great. Because me, as a recruiter, as these gentlemen, we like to shake hands and kiss babies and actually look at you in the eye and say, this is what we're going to do for you. Okay. So that way, when you walk away with the North and South saying that, yep, okay, I got this over here. And if not, provide that feedback to improve that veteran, help them know and understand that, okay, you're not in this fight alone. Okay. We see it all around. We may not be able to do something for you, but if we're talking about mentorship, everybody have blood stripes, NCO stripes, whatever the case may be. Okay, still be that NCO for them, provide that purpose, direction, motivation, because that doesn't go away no matter what. And I see it every single time because as well as I do, especially for all of us that still have hair and things like that. We know a veteran when we see them. Okay, we get that little acknowledgement over here and say, okay, I know, I got your six when it comes to it. So the bottom line for me is like, if we talk about it, let's be about it.
You go. Love that. Matt.
Drive actual change. Don't go to these conferences and learn all these things and sit and listen to these panels and take it back to your organization and it just sits in your notebook. Look at what you've written down, listen to what you've heard prior to all of these conferences, and actually put them into action and drive change. When service members leave the service, and even military spouses, my wife of 17 years has spent her whole adult life around the Marine Corps. She felt this same thing too. When we leave the service, we experience loss of identity, loss of community, and loss of purpose. If you can feel those three things for your veteran and military spouse community, they will stay with you until they die. If you can feel those three things, the loss of identity, loss of purpose, and loss of community, then you will have a loyal employee that will not go anywhere and will retire from your company.
I love that. And I'm looking at and I know who the veterans are in the room because we can smell our own. I can see every veteran head nodding on those three things. That's our need. That's what we need. Just give us a mission. Give us something to live for and we'll die for it. So closing this out for all of you, this space doesn't need more visibility. Okay. There's 47,000 players in the veteran ecosystem, the sea of goodwill, whatever you want to call it. A lot of them are full of crap. It is what it is. The space doesn't need more visibility. It needs more accountability. Accountability is the key and the biggest word that I want you all to take away from today. If you walk out of here and change nothing, thanks for wasting your time and ours. This is just another feel-good session and an opportunity to wave a flag. But here's the challenge to you if you guys are going to go back and change stuff. Go back to your office and kill one useless metric. One PR campaign, one thing that doesn't drive any change whatsoever. Take it back, take it out back, turn it into hamburger, like I said earlier, replace it with something meaningful. Retention rates, your self-identification rates, your veteran representation numbers, your promotability rates, your upskilling programs, the leadership development program for veterans, something else. Replace that vanity metric, that flag, that fluff, whatever it is, with something meaningful. Something that changes behavior. Real data, real metrics should change behavior and change the way that outcomes have. We talk about, and I see the same things, the same groups talk about things every year that we did this or we did that. What happened? That event you went to, how many veterans did you hire? How many did you talk to? Or was it just another opportunity for you to pat yourself on the back? Veteran employment is not a PR campaign. We're not your hero. We're not your victim. We don't want your hugs. Don't touch us. We want a mission. We want to be gainfully employed and do something bigger than ourselves and do that at your company. So at the end of the day, measure what matters, measure success, hold your people accountable, and make the smart business decision to hire veterans. Not because you feel bad for us or because somebody told you it's your patriotic duty, because we bring what you need to the table if you know what you're looking for. Last thing I'll leave you with is that you can't hire all people with disabilities. You can't hire all people of color. You damn sure can't hire all veterans. Look at what your company needs or where you have revenue gaps, skills gaps, leadership gaps, and then reverse engineer or places that do that in the military. You may find that you can only hire Marine Corps avionics technicians, but they may be the best people that you ever hire. And they're not going to be some token veteran that you hired just to tote around or wear a different camouflage vest than the rest of the people. Like, we don't want to feel like we don't belong either. We want to be a part of your organization, not be your token that you wave out there on Veterans Day. So hopefully I didn't seem too angry on this. I tried to be as happy as possible on this topic, but
No,
yeah.
you just seem like a normal Marine.
As you can see, we're passionate about what we do, and we need to make change, folks. But we don't make change individually. We make change collectively. We are the strongest people on the planet as veterans and our advocates. Like, let's fight for this and stop just playing a violin. It's old. Everybody's sick of it, right? Do I have any heroes in here? Anybody? I forgot to ask. Any heroes? Stand up. Oh, wait. Well, I guess all these events aren't for us then. All right, guys. So that's all I got to wrap up. What's that? Oh, that's
Ooh,
awkward.
Shots fired.
You're Army, aren't you? You guys hate
Hey, I
us
resemble that remark.
for good reason. Anyway, but thank you all so much for your time today. Thank you again, George, Nick, Vets Indexes, everyone for coming out, everyone online. Thank you so much for everything that you're doing out there in the field. Let's make change together. 61% veteran underemployment rate. Come on, folks. Let's kill this thing. Thank you so much.
All right. I don't know what kind of rocket fuel Rob had in that can, but it was pretty good. That was a great way to end the day.